Everybody's here. Yes.
Come on.
Are we set?
Yes, we are now set.
I am Sandy McKee, the chair of CB6. This meeting is called to order at
7:05.
7:05 PM. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Justin Goldberg, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Burt, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. Welcome to the January 8, 2025 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. Happy New Year's to all. New York law.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
They missed that. That's okay. New York state law requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. No one may speak until granted the floor. Please raise your hand and wait for me to recognize you. It is important that only one person speaks at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said. Members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out a form, you can register to speak in the public session on Zoom by using the Q&A feature and posting your name, affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. If you're here in person in the public to speak in the public session, you need to fill out our public speaker form, which is near the sign-ins for the CB6 newsletter over by Brian. This needs to be done by 7:15. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. Our secretary, Justin Goldberg, will take attendance by roll call.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, when your name is called, please say present. Majed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Tanya Arias.
Present.
Kyle Atide. Kyle Atide. Neil Barclay.
Present.
Marty Barrett.
Present.
LV Barroso.
Present.
Jim Collins.
Present.
Jonathan Jericho. Jonathan Jericho.
No.
That reverb is mine, I apologize. That reverb is mine. Apologies. It should be taken care of.
Stuart Desser.
Present.
Beatrice Disman. Maya Donahue. Robert Fairfan.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Jason Bromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Justin Goldberg, present. Gloria Hage.
Present.
Rabia Iqbal.
Present.
Paige Judge.
Present.
She's present.
Rupal Kakad. Sean Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani. Nadeem Kalani. Katie Landa.
Present.
Sandra Leftoff.
Absent.
David Levy.
Present.
David Lowenstein.
Present.
Anton Malner.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Reshma Patel.
Present, and Nat Kalani is on as an attendee. I think he needs to be put as a panelist. So
Hey, give us 1 second.
Stephen Perez.
Give us 1 second.
Yeah, sure.
I don't have the permission to do that. Brendan will do that.
Yeah, I'll work on that.
All right, continue.
Miriam Ralph. Michael Ann Rowe.
Present.
Larry Shire.
Present.
Ann Seligman.
Present.
Sandra Sherrod.
It might be late.
Livia Shrednick. Mubin Siddiqui. Mubin Siddiqui.
Absent.
Letty Simon.
Present.
Susan Steinberg. Mark Thompson.
Present.
Gabe Terzo.
Present.
James Vera. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Sarah Whittington.
Present.
Steve Perez, I'm sorry, were you here?
Yeah.
Okay. And go back to Nad. Are we good with Nad, Brendan?
Yep.
Which one? Nad, come on.
Nadine Kalani.
Yep, here.
Okay, with 37 members duly present, we have quorum.
Great. Our elected officials have sent in their reports ahead of time, and they are compiled on the CB6 website. The links to the reports were sent out ahead of time and for your convenience can be found in the chat on Zoom or by going to our website's page for full board meetings. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will be able to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. During this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. And first on our list, we have Robin Forrest from the mayor's office.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Nice to see everybody again. I just have a very quick update, which is to, number one, tomorrow is the mayor's State of the City address. So stay tuned for some announcements. If the meeting were tomorrow night, I might have had more to say. But I did want to highlight the fact that in the 2024 State of the City, the mayor committed to 24 affordable housing projects during 2024, and that goal was achieved. So, going forward with the housing that we also desperately need. And we'll stay tuned to hear what else is coming down the pike. In the meantime, happy 2025, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Robin. Next, we have Deputy Borough President. Oh, I'm sorry. On a rush. Students aren't allowed to ask questions. But yes, do you have a question for Robin?
Ryan, the dunce cap, please.
Well, I hope that's not going to be for me, but go ahead with the question.
Last time you were here before us, you told us about a drone program that Central Park has a couple, and actually I think there's 3 other precincts in the city that
Yes.
are using it now. And I asked if there were any safeguards against abuses, and you said you'd get back to us on this.
As far as I have found out, there are the monitoring is, for crime prevention only. So the safeguards presumably are in place. I don't know what the drone activity has gleaned in terms of actual crime observance and the ability for NYPD or other emergency responders to get to the locations, but I will try to get that information for the next meeting. And sorry, I don't have more specifics for you today.
That will wait for the next meeting. The other question is, as you know, there's been a lot of concern about, sidewalk bridges, the scaffolding, the sheds being, remain in front of buildings for an extended period of time. We looked in our district at those that were up the longest, and I think two of the longest ones, for around 5-6 years are in front of city properties. We sent letters to Health and Hospitals, seeking a response, and we have, they have not responded to us. In as much as I understand the mayor is interested in this issue as well, do you think that you could help us get some responses from H&H?
Yeah, would you be able to forward the correspondence to me that you
Yes,
sent to H&H, and let me see if I can get some information through another route if they do not have that available, because that's something that we should know. And the mayor is very interested, as are a number of your local elected officials. So we will see what we can find out and see if we can get rid of some of it. So thank you.
Good questions. Next we have, and thank you, Robin. Do we have any other questions?
Of course.
No. Okay. Now we have Deputy Borough President Keisha Sutton James.
I'm sure she's here.
No, not here yet, or? All right, we'll move on to Eric Straza from District Attorney Bragg's office. Is Eric? Okay.
I have a question. Maybe this is one of the electeds. I don't know. Alex Garcia, are you with one of the elected officials' offices?
Yes. Yes, I don't know how else to say yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We heard you.
Sorry, I didn't know if you
Which elected official office?
District Attorney of New York. If you look at
Which office?
highlight, it says my name right under Eric Straza in the report in the
You're here for Eric?
Yes.
Okay, we'll promote you. 1 second. All right, Alex Garcia, you may begin.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Alex Garcia. I'm a community coordinator for the District Attorney County of New York. I'm going to share a couple things with you. I'm excited to share information about our 2025 high school internship program. It's a rigorous 5-week internship, and it provides students with an insider view on the criminal justice system. Participants will have the opportunity to engage in workshops, discussions, participate in a mock trial program, develop professionalism in an office setting. And in addition, it's also a paid internship that we paid minimum wage. The applications will open on January 13th, 2025 and close on March 12th, 2025 at 5 p.m. For more information, please attend the next information session on February 6th. And there's a link to register. I can share that later. Next, there's also increased funding for the opportunity for the Summer Youth Gun Violence Prevention Program. The Manhattan District Attorney announced new and additional funding for the Manhattan Community Force Manhattan CBOs to work proactively to prevent youth gun violence for the 4th consecutive summer. The Gun Violence Prevention Initiative is an incredible opportunity for organizations, CBOs, to receive funding to support projects that align with our mission to engage youth in creative and impactful ways in a concerted effort to deter gun violence through prevention. This year's funding will increase from $200,000 to $300,000, but most notably because data and community feedback has shown that this program works. Shootings have decreased by 48%, and over 50% of the youth participating in the Gun Violence Prevention Initiative programming stay connected to organizations after the initiative ends. The application deadline is coming soon. It is January 14th, 2025. And lastly, I want to announce the indictment of Ramon Rivera. Ramon Rivera, 51, was indicted for murdering three New Yorkers in a series of stabbings in November 20th, 2024. Rivera is charged in New York State Supreme Court, indicted with 1 count of murder in the 1st degree, 3 counts of murder in the 2nd degree, and 1 count of burglary in the 3rd degree. And that's it for the highlights for Danny. Any questions?
All right, do we have any questions for Alec? No, that's great. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Justin Flagg from Senator Liz Kruger's office.
Good evening, everyone. Nothing to add to our report, but happy to take any questions.
Anne Sutherland, oops, wait for the microphone, please.
Hi, thanks. I appreciated Liz including in the report information about bills that were passed and bills that were vetoed. There was another one that, or two actually, that are not in our district that are dear to my heart. One is the horseshoe crab protection law that she vetoed. And another was a Clean Water Protection Act for Jamaica Bay. And I hope that you guys can bring those back. I mean, they both passed, both houses of the legislature. I also was really distressed to learn that Hochul's daughter-in-law is a lobbyist for the pharmaceutical industry. And so it seems like there's really a conflict of interest there. So again, I hope those bills, they passed the first time. I hope that they can pass again, and maybe we can get it to the finish line before, Jamaica Bay is destroyed.
And sorry, what was the second bill? I caught the horseshoe crab bill, but what was the second one?
It's called like the Jamaica Bay Clean Water Act. Actually, it's Senate Bill 8547.
Okay, I'll take a closer look at them. I'm certainly familiar with the horseshoe crab one, and I haven't spoken to the sponsors' offices, but I suspect that those bills will be back.
Larry?
Hi, what can you tell us about the status of the MTA's 2025 to 2029 capital plan, where it stands in the Senate, and what is going to be necessary in order to fund it?
I can't tell you much at this point, except that is going to be, a central part of the discussion in the budget process that's coming up. So the governor is going to have her State of the State next week. She'll release her executive budget probably, sometime before or on January 21st. And then we'll go into the budget hearings in February. And I know that the MTA's capital plan and where we're going to find the revenue for that, and exactly how big that budget is going to be, will be a central part of the discussions in the budget process. Beyond that, I don't know anything more at this point, but I know that it's certainly central to Senator Kruger's thinking about what we need to figure out in this upcoming budget.
Well, last week there was a three-person board that included Mr. Hasty, Ms. Evans, and Governor, who did not approve the plan going forward, which is something that seemed to be a regular thing in the previous administration. And it seems like a monkey wrench was thrown in the process of awarding contracts January 1st. Can you describe what that situation, if you understand it yourself?
Yeah, I don't actually know I'm familiar with that, but I don't know the ins and outs of what the actual ramifications are of that decision in terms of what it means for MTA planning. I'm happy to talk to the transportation person in our office and try to get a clearer idea of what the ramifications of that are, and I can come back to you later with that info.
Great, thank you very much. Any other questions? All right. All right, thank you. We'll move on now to Keisha Sutton James, the Deputy Borough President.
Thank you so much. I'll start out by saying happy holidays to everyone. I hope you've all had a wonderful holiday season, that you're staying warm and safe and all the good things. I'll start out, I'll try to be really quick. I wanted to just highlight a few things. Just before the holidays, the Borough President and Council Member Keith Powers, as well as DA Bragg, published an op-ed that is, by the way, it's posted on the Borough President's website, but the op-ed is specifically focused on public safety and sidewalk sheds. We know obviously that sidewalk sheds are an eyesore, and there's an issue with them not being taken down as with as much alacrity as would be proper. But it's also a public safety issue because illicit and dangerous activity can happen underneath the sidewalk sheds. So please do us a favor, do us all a favor if you can, and just check out the op-ed that's on our website. And if there's ways that you
Excuse me, sorry, we lost our internet connection. So I'm afraid at the beginning of your report, we lost you.
But now we have you again. Now we have you again.
Okay. Okay, my apologies. I'll try to be quick again. I will. No, you said the beginning, so I will say happy holidays again. Happy New Year. I hope everybody's safe and warm and all the things. On a few quick notes. One, the Borough President, along with DA Bragg and Councilmember Powers, published an op-ed just before the holiday. It was about the issue with the sidewalk sheds, but particularly focusing on public safety and sidewalk sheds. It's not just an eyesore; it's also a public safety issue in terms of illicit and dangerous activity happening dark, in kind of dark and less well lit and also less well seen areas. So please check out that op-ed. Very importantly, community board applications, as a heads up, the process is opening up in mid-January. So call it, what is today's date? It's all happening so fast. So in a week or so, I think week plus. So we should be, the application will be opening up. So for all of you who are community board members currently and wish to reapply, if you're at the end of your, at the end of your term, please make sure you do so. You must reapply. And then for those who are interested in serving and are not yet serving on a community board, please join, follow us on social media, go to our website, sign up for the newsletter so you will know when the community board applications are available. And that too will just be on the website, but you'll get a notification. Another thing I want to highlight, just before the holiday as well, we're really trying to make sure everybody knows this, that Borough President Levine released a roadmap to universal childcare, closing the 0 to 3 gap. We were all super excited with universal pre-K and 3K, but there are so many people, in particular in the workforce, as well as BIPOC and people who are suffering, with financial insecurity, who are struggling with trying to keep their children safe while they have to go to work. So there's a comprehensive plan about universal childcare also available on the website. Please read it. Any parents out there know how difficult it is. I went through it myself. And then finally, I won't get into the details of it, but please check out the website. And then finally, I will just say that not just our capital budget process, but also the city council's budget process is opened. I'm not sure that our deadlines are exactly the same. I know the Borough President's Office's capital budget process is open and closes on February 23rd, I believe. It's 23rd or 25th. I'm blanking right now. I apologize. But that process is open. So if there are not-for-profits or schools, et cetera, that are interested in applying to get something done or something fixed, please get those applications in ASAP so that we can start having meetings with you. And that's it for my super quick report.
Great, thank you. We have a question for you from Tanya.
Hi, Happy New Year. Situation with the sidewalk sheds, it's always been really, for me, a pet peeve, because the sidewalk sheds are not a problem, they're a symptom of a problem, which is you have the FIST program, which is every 5 years, buildings have to go through the inspections, laws change. You could have all the good, intentions of getting your project done as soon as possible, and then the wrenches that are thrown into a local law 11 project are endless. In our case, we even had, a 6-month delay because Parks would refuse to give us a permit and asked us for an $800,000 bond in order to put up our shed. So, what happens is these projects can take 3-4 years to complete, and now you're back into the 5-year cycle. So you're in a perennial state of shedding, up and down and up and down. Have you gotten into the discussions of maybe extending the time from 5 to 8 years? And also keeping in mind that these projects sometimes even bankrupt some of these buildings, and they find it very difficult to complete the work. So the sheds are a terrible problem, but the sheds are a problem because we have other things that force us to put up the sheds. How are you handling this?
So, thank you for the question, so much, thank you. So, please, I really encourage you to dig into, to the report. There are a couple of recommendations that we've made, in terms of, expediting, I'm sorry, my brain is not yet in, 2025. I'm like, expediting these processes. So one is around allowing drones to do some of the inspections so that we're not constrained by DOB staff shortages to be able to get the inspections done. And this is, something that it has been used in other municipalities. So one is using drones to expedite, that process. Another is around updating local law 11 inspection regulations in a number of different ways. So for, I'd have to go back to the detail, but I remember that there were, for where inspections have already been done kind of more recently, not requiring it be done just because when we know that the inspection has already been done kind of more recently. So the goal is to keep the safety, obviously, for our processes to keep us safe, but to use other mechanisms to keep us safe without, to not give us unnecessary hurdles, if you will, in order to maintain the safety that we should be accustomed to. That is a super quick answer because I see two other hands up. But I think that if you dug into the paper, because there's something like 12 or so recommendations in the paper that you would, and I can also dig it up and drop it in the thing too, in the chat too.
Would you? That'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, I think Jim Collins had his hand up first, and then Michael Ann.
I just two suggestions with respect to these scaffolds. When a building is reskinned, our building, for example, was reskinned, I guess, probably 15 years ago. There should be a more lengthy gap between the local law 11 requirements. It's a brand new building, and when we did our local law 11, we were faced with the prospect of punching holes in basically brand new or not that old veneer for simply to comply with the city's requirements, which was offensive, to those of us who pay for the thing. The second part is, as part of your counsel to neighbors, I would suggest that you tell people that when a neighbor is putting up a scaffold to protect their own building, that the adjoining property is entitled to compensation for that easement. We have an instance here on 16th Street. I don't know if you're familiar with the St. George's School. Their next door neighbor to the west has had a scaffold up for like 2 years, and it's blocking out the children's play space at their, I guess it's a preschool. But I'm going to send the photos to the board office, and you can follow up if you like.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, just to let you know, our Public Safety and Sanitation Committee is discussing scaffolding. So probably a lot of these comments should go to them. It's been an ongoing discussion that they've been having. And certainly they can read the report, and people on the board who have questions can bring them to that committee. But Michael Ann, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask something specific, but keep it first. I'm on the website under which where do
our
I find
initiatives.
Under
our initiatives. And I did just drop it in the webinar chat. So anyone who's online who might have access to that can too. And Jim Collins, that to your first point, that is what is in the plan. And thank you for that note on the second point.
Okay. Okay, I'll save Patrick from I'll save me from asking, save Patrick from hearing this question again. Do you know the property on 38th in Lexington, the Namibia Mission, which is pretty much an abandoned building, a mission, and I'm just wondering if that's in the scope of what your report is, because that scaffolding's been up for about 15 years. And I keep talking about it, and no one seems to have an answer about what you do with missions. We can't find a contact person. It's been impossible to get a hold of anyone. I don't know who owns the building at this point. But that scaffolding's been up so long, and it is such an eyesore.
I think, Michael, and I suggest you come to our to the sanitation committee, and I don't want to interrupt, but these are very specific questions that I think our committee can take a look at. But please go. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we will be looking at that. I'm on that committee, as you know, Sandy. But the thing is, I just wanted to bring it to Keisha's attention again, because it's really specifically about a mission, or even these government buildings that we were talking about before. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention that this is a specific building that the community has been concerned about for a very long time, and it's been taking forever to get any results on who owns it, who to talk to.
Thank you. This was not on my radar. It doesn't mean it's not on our office's radar. I apologize if it hadn't gotten to me in my ears, but I'm happy to follow up with the committee as well as with Praha, and then dig into it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, sounds like our committee is going to have a great meeting next month. So thank you very much. Maybe someone from the Borough President's office can join us. All right, we're going to move on to Peyton Schulteis from Kristen Gonzalez, Senator Kristen Gonzalez's office.
Hi, Happy New Year, everyone. I just have one thing to add onto my report, and that is that in this upcoming term, Senator Gonzalez will once again be chairing the Internet and Technology Committee. But in addition to that, she will also be chairing the Elections Committee in the Senate. That's all I have. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. Well, we have Anne and then Stu. Okay, we're going to have Stu and then Anne. Don't fight over it.
This may be unfair, but it may be unfair, but in your newsletter, you say that you had something like 8 million in discretionary funds that were given out. And one of those was apparently to an organization involved in domestic violence intervention. Do you know anything more about that?
I don't know what that organization is off the top of my head. I have a guess, but I don't want to speak out of turn, but I can confirm that if you would like and share offline. Huh? Sorry?
And Anne had a question. And it's good to have you.
And boy, I know you are almost always here, so it is,
I just got back from Albany. That's the only reason I am not here in person tonight.
you're not coming. Because I know you are hardcore here and we appreciate that. I actually, just something that's not in your report, but I wanted to thank you because I heard through elsewhere that, you guys are hosting, a mobile adoption, event, in the month in Long Island City. And I just wanted to thank you for that, working with ACC. That's great, because that's a great way to, you know, find some forever homes to some animals that really need them. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Great.
Appreciate it. We're happy to do it.
Rupal has a question for you as well.
Do you know if there's any plans for reintroducing the Litch bill back, the one that Governor vetoed at the last minute?
I believe so, though I'm definitely not up to date on the full details of that plan, but my understanding is yes, there'll be a plan to reintroduce it in some form.
I hope so, because it passed by a wide majority in both houses and it was bipartisan, so I hope it gets reintroduced.
Okay, thanks very much. Oh, sorry, Justin up here has a question.
Hi, Peyton. This is Justin Goldberg. I had a question about Senate Bill S 8572. That's the one that was passed back in February, and that was just signed in I think November or December. That's one that's with the Office of Information Technology Services with cloud computing. And given that there's relation to state agencies, I wanted to know if you know, in our interaction with them, are there any more details on that, or is there a way to you know, keep us informed?
I'm sorry, I was having a little trouble hearing. I apologize. Can you repeat that question?
Oh, okay. It's about the bill that Kristen Gonzalez sponsored. It was S 8572. It's about cloud computing, and I know that there's a big part of it's about educating state agencies on cloud services for data storage. I wanted to know if there's a way for us to stay more informed about that, and how that's related to some of the agencies we might be working with.
I don't have an answer to that off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to look into it and see if there's a way for you to keep up to date on that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I think that's it for this evening. Next, we have Joanna Sanchez from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein's office.
Oh,
Hello, everyone.
Oh, I'm
Happy New
sorry.
Year.
Whoops. Okay. Are you,
Do you guys get our requests to register?
but he's here in person.
yeah, let's let, I'm sorry, Joanna, we have someone in person, so come on up.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll make this really brief. Just wanted to give 3 quick updates. First is President Biden signed into law the Social Security Fairness Act. And what this does, well, first off, Congressman Aller was a co-sponsor on this. So we're excited to get this passed. And what this does is that it repeals 2 revisions to expand financial support for millions of retired Americans, particularly public servants. So public school teachers, firefighters, you know, police officers, post workers, etc. So we're excited to see that get into action. And then second off, for the end of the 118th Congress, Congressman Nadler introduced a bipartisan bill called the Protect Employees and Retired Employees from in Bankruptcy Business Bankruptcy Act, excuse me, it's not full. But what this would do is essentially when businesses are in bankruptcy, it would ensure that the employees and retirees are insured their wages and their benefits and retirement savings, and that they're not thrown under the bus when this happens. So we're hoping to get this, you know, kicked off and hopefully passed in the 119th session. So looking forward to that. And then last but not least, tax season around the corner. and expanding a direct file. What that means is that you can submit your state and federal through direct file. To make sure that you're eligible to that, you can go to www.tax.ny.gov. If you qualify for that, it can save you as much as $250 on average per filer with preparation fees. So if you qualify for that, it's worth looking into. But that's all I have. If there are no other questions.
Do we have any questions? Great.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming out on this cold evening. Okay, now Joanna, sorry about that. Please go ahead. Oh, Joanna, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that.
Great.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm glad to see everyone. Assembly Member Epstein, we have some upcoming events. We have the Black History event coming up, along with other events, including the Lunar New Year celebration. Feel free to look at our newsletter for further information. And Assembly Member Epstein wanted to thank everyone who donated thousands of coats for our coat drive. That was a success. And there are other legislative updates as well. So if anyone has any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. I will include my information in the chat. Thank you.
Great. Do we have any questions? No, I guess that's it. Thank you very much. Next on the list, we have Patrick Hill from Councilmember Powers' office.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I don't have anything to add on top of our report, but if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to take them.
Okay, Eric has a question for you.
Hey, Patrick. I just wanted to see if you might comment. We have a resolution tonight on the Skyport parking garage and marina. And, curious if the council member's office is doing any work related to it. EDC, I guess, is asking for $12 million to refurbish the parking garage, and I'm not really clear what the benefit is to the community, and just wanted to understand what your office is doing on this issue.
I can definitely check back on the latest with the council member. I know he had been having discussions with EDC about trying to, I know there was a large push to make this space an open space that's, available to the public, and that's something that he would obviously love for the community. We have very few waterfront spaces, and so to, include additional waterfront spaces, I think is something that he is always trying to push for. I don't know what the latest is in terms of his discussions with EDC and where that might be at, but I can definitely touch base with the council member, find out, and connect with you offline, or just send the information into the board office as well, so that they have that and can distribute that.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful for the board office. And also, while you're asking, could you get information on how much revenue it drives, the parking garage, just given that they're thinking about investing $12 million into it? I assume they want to keep it active because it makes money for the city, but I'm just curious what the actual revenue is.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we can inquire with EDC as well as, some of our other city colleagues and try to find out if that data is available. I'm sure it is somewhere. We just have to go looking for it and find it, but we can definitely look into that and get back to you.
And Jim, I believe you have some questions along the same lines.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to mention. Along the same lines, and also with respect to how often this project is built out to garage operators. How often it's been.
Those questions you emailed to us regarding financial figures, we could send those along to Pat, and he can help perhaps track down some of that information.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions for Patrick? Oh, Kevin.
Just real clarification. The estimated cost is $12 to $14 million, and the cost per parking spot, I make out to be anywhere between $25,000 and $30,000 per parking spot.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to point out that EDC did mention in the committee meeting that they would come back with those figures. I find it hard to vote on it without knowing what those figures are. Have those been delivered by EDC?
No, they have not.
We can inquire with them ahead of time to and impress upon them that this information would be helpful in terms of the discussion of the committee meetings. So I can definitely reach out to our contacts there and try to see if we can get that information ahead of it.
Great, thank you. That would be really helpful.
Sure.
Any other questions for Patrick?
I think Jim may have one more.
Oh, Jim, your hand is still up?
That's his other program.
Hi, I was going to reserve this for the balance of the discussion with respect to the resolution, but my view is that we should take a tougher stance with EDC.
Let's wait until the discussion
we've
of
had
the
three prior resolutions. Okay, fine.
Let's wait.
All
Yeah,
right.
Jim.
That's
Thanks.
fine.
All right, let's keep on moving down our list. Thank you, Patrick. Next
Of course.
we have
Happy New Year.
Yes, Sophie Sakur from Assemblymember Boris's office.
Hi, everyone. Happy first day of session for everybody on the state level. I don't have much to add to the report, but if anybody has any questions, I will also say that our State of the District is on January 26th. So if you'd like to register, the link is in the report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? All right, great. We'll keep on moving. Katie Loeb from Councilmember Rivera's office.
Hello, thank you, everybody. I'm Katie Loeb from Councilmember Carlina Rivera's office. I've been given two pre-questions that I'll address and then I'll take questions. The first is about the LIDGE Act, which Peyton spoke about a little bit. Councilmember Rivera has a resolution in City Council in support of the LIDGE Act. So we'll be following the reintroduction in the Senate and Assembly and then amending our resolution and hoping to pass it this year, given that it passes and urging the governor to sign it. The next question is about Intro 210, which would prohibit any city agency from imposing a length of stay limit for families who are eligible under state law in shelter. I know you have a resolution on it tonight, so I wanted to provide a quick update from council. The update is this bill was introduced February 28th and heard in early March of 2024, and it has not been amended yet, which means it's still being worked on. And your resolution tonight is going to be very, very helpful in advocating with the council writ large on the importance of this bill. Councilmember Rivera is a co-sponsor, and we're looking forward to seeing the amendments and moving it forward. One other piece of update that didn't make it to my report is there's a land use item 455 First Avenue. It's often packaged with Spark, which I know you have a resolution on tonight. Both of those are being heard in City Council tomorrow, January 9th. We've met on this topic a lot, I'm sure you, as you know. But any additional questions that you think that the council member should ask, feel free to send me in an email and we can send it to our land use staff.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for Katie? Excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last, but of course not least, is Curtis Young from the Public Advocate's Office.
Good evening, CB6. Thank you all for moving me over to panelists. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Sorry, there's some background noise. I just left CB10 in person, so I am actually taking two CB meetings at one time. So I will be brief. So as you all know, each year the Public Advocate releases its worst landlord list. We are looking forward to sharing that with you next week. The website is at landlordwatchlist.com, and that'll go live on the 14th. So this is a compilation of the landlords across the city with some of the most egregious sort of violations that we gather, extrapolate from HPD, as well as Department of Buildings and other sources to compile that list. It is a really impactful list. Last year, the number one guy on that list is now incarcerated because of his egregious acts as a landlord. So it is very important that we share that list with our communities once it goes live next week. Also, want to share that for the holiday season, with more people buying e-bikes, the Public Advocate released a study entitled "Stopping the Blaze." This was a piece that provided guidance for individuals as government officials to make better decisions on e-bikes in order to help mitigate some of the challenges we had last year with the fires in buildings, etc. As you know, this time of year, there are a lot more fires, and e-bikes has caused so many of them in our city. So the report that he released in December really provides guidance and instruction on what we can do as individuals as well as the government to ensure that we are lowering those numbers. A few upcoming events. As with each month, we have our monthly series called Ask the Advocate. You can tune into News 12 Bronx, Brooklyn, or online to pose questions in real time to the Public Advocate. The next session that will occur is January 13th from 7 to 8 p.m. And once again, you can call in and pose questions. You can find out more information on the landlord list on our website, as well as the op-ed piece that the Public Advocate released. We have two more upcoming events. January 16th, we're hosting a criminal law talk on Staten Island. It doesn't apply to you all, but in case you have friends there, you can refer them. As well as we're hosting another criminal law know your rights workshop on January 17th in the Bronx. That will be all. You can always reach out to me for information. My email address is cyoung@advocate.nyc.gov, and my government phone number is 646-952-1321. I look forward to hearing from you and hopefully being in person as I rotate throughout the borough of Manhattan next month. Thank you all and have a great kickoff to the year.
Do we have any questions for Curtis? No, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay. We're moving now on to the public session. Has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
In fact, they have. I'm going to go without the mic because I've heard it causes some issues sound-wise. They have. Our first speaker is Matt McLeod, a resident of Manhattan Community District 6, who wishes to speak on the safety of the East 25th Street crosswalk just west of the FDR Drive. Mr. McLeod, we will put 3 minutes on the clock, which you will have to give your remarks. You may begin your remarks now.
Okay, thank you. You can hear me okay?
You can.
Great. Hello, Manhattan Community Board 6. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I am here to flag a dangerous pedestrian condition in our neighborhood and to ask for your help to rectify the situation. The vast majority of southbound vehicles leaving the FDR at exit 7 make a sharp right turn onto East 25th Street. Immediately after this turn, there is a crosswalk with a single stop sign. Many cars do not stop, especially at night or in other low visibility conditions. Given they are exiting the FDR, many vehicles move through this crosswalk at a high rate of speed. This is particularly problematic given the high number of pedestrians using this crosswalk on a daily basis, including residents of Waterside Plaza and hundreds of young students attending the British American and UN schools. Relatedly, there is no signage at this intersection that indicates that it is also a school crossing. Earlier this year, I contacted the New York City Department of Transportation asking for a flashing red light to be installed at the crosswalk. I feel this would significantly increase visibility and protect pedestrians. The Department of Transportation denied my request. Since then, I have had numerous close calls at the sidewalk, and I remain convinced that a flashing red light and school crossing signage will help prevent accidents. I am asking for the community board's help to again raise this request to the city. Thank you for your attention and for your consideration of my suggestion.
Okay. Thank you very much for your remarks, Mr. McLeod.
And just so you know where we're meeting this evening, most of us had to pass that particular crossing. And we're certainly aware that it's a dangerous situation. It has come up several times. Jason?
Yeah, hey, my name is Jason Cromwell. I'm the chair of the CB6 Transportation Committee. Just wanted to agree that there's definitely pedestrian safety concerns on that block in general, and I've also definitely personally noticed them as well. We've had some brainstorm ideas around how to potentially make some design improvements on that street, but we have not yet added it to the agenda. But I thank you for raising it and bringing it to our attention, and expect that to be something we address more directly in an upcoming meeting. And once we have it on the agenda, we'd invite you to come be a part of that discussion as well.
Larry wants to speak.
We have a resolution tonight on Spark, which is right across the street from there. And one of the items that is more or less implied in it is that this has to be addressed.
Our next speaker.
Our next person on the list, on the public session list, Kate Oram. Are you here, Kate? I do not see her. Going once, going twice. All right, perhaps another time. That concludes the speakers list for this very cold evening.
The minutes from the December 11th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there's no objection, we will adopt the minutes as drafted. Board members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the, excuse me, the December 11th board meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. Chair's report. We passed 82 resolutions outside of those from the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee last year. 82. So we need to follow up on those this year. That's a mission that we should have, is see if we're being effective in the resolutions we write. We had a very productive meeting with the chairs of all the committees and discussed greater participation by the committee in generating agendas and creating year-long goals. The saga continues with the State Cannabis Control Board and the impacts on our community. The Hallmark store located at 43rd Street and 2nd Avenue has lost its lease. Anton will provide additional information. We are planning on giving testimony on the proposed closure at Thursday's OCM meeting. It's 1 p.m. on Thursday, January 9th at the SUNY Global Center, Global Classroom, 116 East 55th Street. If that was too fast, we can distribute that information for anybody who would like to attend. The Local Input and Community Healthcare Act, LICH, that we supported in last month's full board resolution was vetoed by the governor, as Rupal mentioned. But there are plans to reintroduce it into the legislature again this year, and there is still the ongoing lawsuit regarding the closing of MSBI. Two of our members are leaving the board, John DeRico and Hayder Zaidi. And a huge thank you for the work they have done with us and their support of our community. To end on a positive note, we are celebrating a new year. It's the year of the snake coming up. Yeah. Don't tell anyone, that shows how old you are. So we're going to be gathering at the community room at 5 Tudor City on January 24th at 6 o'clock. More information coming on that, but everyone is welcome, elected officials as well, and definitely more information to follow. And Jesus Perez, our district manager, will now give his report.
Actually, something super quick. For those of you who have visited our website, which I'm sure everyone has and goes to it at least once a week, on the tab for resources for community board members, we have added something that you might find useful. We had a Word doc template of a resolution template. We've now added a Google Doc template there. Because it does make it easy to collaborate on resos that way. I'm showing it right now on the screen. You still have the Word doc there if you want it. But for those who want the Google Doc version, it is there. And it just gives you simple instructions on how to copy it to yours. And it's already got line numbers, it's already got the font we use, it's already got the draft watermark. And all you really need to do is just fill in your clauses and you're good to go. Now that committees are starting to write their resos in advance and circulating them 3 days ahead of time, as the bylaws suggest you do, it might be easy to, this might be a welcome tool for you. But there you go. That's it. Unless there are any questions.
Anne has a question.
Actually, I just have a shout out to all my fellow board members. The office works really hard to find space for us, and it is a really difficult challenge for them. I don't think everybody appreciates how much work goes into putting us in this space and getting this all set up. So if you want to help them, reach out to your council member and put a little pressure on them to either like give us money to find a space, or I think even more valuable is to put pressure on, have them to find spaces that we can use at low or no expense. So it's not really a question for you, Jesus, but it is a call out for all of you guys. Come on, make this work. You want us all to be able to meet in person? Make it happen.
Okay. Oh, Jason.
Just a quick question, sorry. In terms of the hearing you were mentioning, what was the nature of the hearing? It was related to the closure or the new?
It's an
something else that
it's an
that was
OCM meeting. That's one of these general meetings that they have. And actually this particular person is not being reviewed at the meeting, but it's an opportunity to talk about the problem with the system.
Send out the date and the location.
It's tomorrow. At 1 o'clock. But
They don't post those meetings very far ahead of time.
No, and you do need to, if you want to attend in person, you need to register in advance.
Oh.
And if you attend via Zoom, you can submit written testimony, but you are unable to speak during the meeting.
And you can submit written testimony up until January the 14th.
That's
So
no time like the present.
we can send it out to everyone on the board so that they can, participate.
I'll make an effort.
Okay. All right. Sorry, we're now on to Livia Shrednick, our treasurer, is going to give a report.
Okay, according to the Office of Management and Budget, as of January 2nd, 2025, the CB6 budget is $612,004, and this includes street fair money. The encumbered funds are $10,000 to $152. The liquidated funds are $326,476. The encumbered and liquidated funds break down as follows. The rent is $177,905. Personal services is $140,248. Other than personal services is $18,475. The unencumbered funds total $275,374, of which $142,811 are street fair funds. Thank you.
Yes, very nice. Our first day of presentation from our new treasurer. We've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. A reminder that the same rules stated at the beginning of the meeting apply. Members of the public, please note that during this section of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CB6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all members. Please click on the link in your email that the office sent to open the ballot, select your name, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented, not before. At the end of the meeting, please submit your ballot after you've indicated all of your votes. Do not submit prior to the end of the discussion of the proposed resolution. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, select abstain. It will count as a negative vote. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand and we will address your question. All right. The agenda, housing and homelessness, Rich Mintz, Chair.
So, Katie, would you be willing to join me in a little bit? Oh, no. So we have one resolution this week, which is about extending the limits on shelter stays, as we heard earlier. I wanted to invite Katie to hold the mic for a couple of minutes because she brought this resolution to the committee on her own initiative and she wrote it. And I don't think it needs a hard sell, but I want to give you a chance to speak about it for a minute if you want to.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Katie, for giving it a plug. So this is a resolution urging enactment of a city council bill, intro 210, to prohibit any New York City agency from imposing length of shelter stay restrictions in a shelter of any type. And it was drafted in response to Mayor Adams having ordered back in September and October of 2023 to have 30 and 60 day shelter stay limits for single adult asylum seekers and migrant families with children. So this bill was, as Katie said, it was introduced in February 2024, and there are now 22 sponsors of it from the city council, but it's been laid over in the Committee on General Welfare. So the resolution cites the New York State Constitution that commits the city of New York to providing aid, care, and support of the needy. The consent decree in Callahan versus Carey that states that the city must provide a shelter bed to anyone who seeks one. I'm sorry, I have a shaking hand syndrome on my left hand. And that makes the city a right to shelter jurisdiction. And it says that the shelter limits constitute illegal discrimination in the administration of shelter services to homeless individuals and families. The shelter limits impose additional instability on individuals and families with limited resources who have relocated to a new country, often with traumatic experience. The shelter limits have been observed to result in homeless individuals sleeping in streets, subways, and unhealthy, unsafe locations. The shelter limits interfere with children's public school education and disrupt the schools they attend. They interfere with the ability of migrant individuals and families to obtain appropriate immigration status. They interfere with the ability of migrant individuals to obtain work authorization, to obtain and maintain employment. The administration of the arbitrary discharges from and reapplications for and relocation to other shelters creates administrative and cost inefficiency. And so it resolves that the Manhattan Community Board 6 urges the City Council to pass Intro 210 to prohibit city agencies from imposing length of stay shelter restrictions, and has a further resolution that the city would provide services to connect new arrivals in shelters to effective immigration legal help, employment-related services, and intensive case management to help individuals and families obtain legal status, employment, and stable housing.
Do we have any questions for Katie? Anton?
Just to make sure I understand, you said earlier that the New York State Constitution prohibits putting time limits on people in shelters or whatever. So if it's against the Constitution, why are we even talking about having the City Council pass a resolution? Fact is that the city can't do it, period.
I can take this if you want.
Sure.
Unless you have you wanna.
Yeah, well, the New York State Constitution doesn't speak specifically to shelter. What does is the Callahan versus Cary consent decree from 1981 that found that developed a right to shelter in New York City for any homeless individual or family that seeks shelter.
The consent decree, the consent decree, was a consent by the city to a judge's finding that there was a constitutional right. So it's not written in the Constitution. It was an agreement, in lieu of a ruling against the city by a judge.
So in fact, we're saying that there was no time limit indicated one way or the other in the consent decree.
Correct.
Thank you.
Marty has a question online, and then and then I guess Miriam. Sorry, after that, Marty, do you want?
Does the intro bar anything else other than length of stay? For instance, if an individual in the shelter is a problem, would the intro bar eliminating that person from the shelter?
No, it just, so the intro would just bar setting like a blanket limit on the stay. So if you're welcome.
Okay, Miriam, and then Jim has a question.
Katie, I was gonna say this to Rich before the meeting started, and I'm really happy he was on the phone because the compliment should have gone to you. This is an excellent resolution. When I was reading it earlier, it is so clear, concise, addresses all the concerns I've had working with the asylum seekers and migrants myself. And it's the kind of resolution that makes me extra proud to be on this board. So you did a great job.
Wow, thank you so much.
And Jim.
Hi,
two things.
First, I was not able to find the.
Can you mute one of you?
I was not able to find the intro in the city's legislative library. So
Brendan,
I'm going to have to vote against. Pardon me? Who sent it to me?
Brendan sent it to you.
And it's in your email.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, from info.
But I would also note that Milton Friedman, who was a University of Chicago Nobel Prize laureate in economics, once said it's just obvious you can't have free immigration on a welfare state. I think the limitations on this are a bare minimum of fiscal responsibility for the mayor. So notwithstanding, I have to read the intro, but notwithstanding that, I'm inclined to vote against this because there are fiscal limits to what we can do. Man, the kindness of our hearts is limited by the extent of our pocketbooks. And right now, the city's pocketbooks are already excessive, and the burden we're putting on taxpayers is excessive, the highest in the country.
Thank you for that. Actually, many people feel that these shelter limits add to the expense because people do have a right to shelter, but there's a great deal of churning and inefficient administration that goes on, and it actually keeps people out of the workforce and the legal workforce because it interferes with the processing of immigration status and work authorization and people getting jobs, so that there's actually an economic loss that's experienced by the city by instituting this.
Justin?
I'm sorry, I disagree strongly with that.
Well, it's okay, Jim. We're on to the next question. Thank you.
Yeah.
So before now, from what I understand that it was 30 and 60 days stay limits. I can understand how that might be limiting, but you're proposing absolutely no, like complete no stay limits?
That's what the city council is proposing.
Okay,
Yes,
because that's a pretty significant difference between coming up with like some type of term that's longer than, I don't know where the logic was to come with 30, 60 days, but city council proposing just total no stay limits?
right, no state
No
limit
shelter,
for anybody.
B has her hand raised as well.
So
B?
I support, thank you. I support this resolution because I feel by eliminating the timeframes, it will move the bureaucracy to be more efficient to find a permanent solution to shelter these individuals. And so the shelter system has needed improvement all along. I think this will be an economic incentive for the city to go ahead and do that. So I support the resolution.
Anne, are you going to call the question?
One of the things that hasn't really been mentioned, but I think is in the reso, is it also makes it so much easier for kids to have consistency of service, so they don't have to change schools or commute, to possibly different boroughs to stay in the same schools. And there's like a very tangible benefit for that. But then I will call to question.
Thank you. If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. Thank you. Rich, do you have a report?
I just have a quick report, which is that I want to make sure, I don't think I said this last time, that we have two new vice chairs on the housing committee. Sandra left off, who is going to be focused on housing affordability, and Alec Militic, who's going to be focused on housing supply, which are two of the biggest concerns of the committee. So you will be hearing more from them in the past, and that's all I have to say.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have Rashad Abdul Samad from Land Use and Waterfront.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. We have two resolutions for you from Land Use and Waterfront. The first is urging EDC to replace the Skyport Garage Marina with community-centric uses. Thank you, Alec, for writing this.
Yeah.
Quick summary of discussion in the committee. No one is in favor of extending more parking in that garage. We're not trying to make this a bigger function than it is, the Skyport Marina, but the funds are essential to just preserve that facility so it doesn't fall in water. And our next step, as we concluded as part of this resolution, is to ask EDC to come back and talk to us, not when the facility is falling in the water, but after that, talk to us about how to better use it for community uses like last mile delivery, other services, pick up, drop off for events happening there. So urging you all to vote in favor of this resolution, and seeing if there are any questions. Jason, go over.
So I think the resolution was extremely well written, and I appreciate the balance that was attempted to be right, to be in asking for another use for the space, but being supportive. However, I want to question, and I'm split on this personally. I do not like the idea of us spending another $12 million, or the city spending $12 million on this facility, and I would very much like to see some other use for that space. I am concerned with us endorsing the allocation of $12 million to continue to have that space used for parking. If we were not to, what would be the consequences of opposing this resolution and us asking for EDC to not do these repairs?
Fair points. I'll let Alec respond since he's submitted.
So we brought that to EDC's attention, and they said to us that this renovation is gonna go whether or not we approve or reject this resolution. They simply came to us really out of the goodness of their heart So the resolution that we're proposing is to say we only support renovations insofar to maintain a state of good repair, but we're urging you to come back so we can turn this into a community-centered use. If we reject this proposal or the resolution rather, they are still gonna go with the renovation to maintain a state of good repair, but we're not on record saying that we would like to work with EDC to see that turn into a community use in the future.
So again, recognizing the balance here, but just to be clear for me, just because they're saying they're gonna do it either way doesn't mean we should say, okay. So at least for me, you know, that space is not well utilized and, you know, they could use the $12 million to put a turf field on the top floor to make it available for kids in the neighborhood. I don't know, a lot of things, but, you know, I think we could say that we'd like another use for it, and still give them, you know, not support it. So that's it.
I'll say very quickly, and Anton has his hand up. I'll just say, I'm in agreement with both of your concerns. Part of our approach in the committee is to build a better connection with EDC to say, come talk to us before you've already decided, and this is just a checkbox for you. I mean, we'll say, not cool EDC, you're just basically checking a box, but we want to establish a better relationship with them, so we can do more with that, garage.
I don't see any issue of providing funds to keep this parking garage from falling into the East River. We have congestion pricing now. What is the need for having the same number of parking spaces in the congestion zone? We should be telling the EDC, yes, okay, you can renovate so that it doesn't fall into the East River, so to speak. But we should renovate for the benefit of the community, which doesn't have very much public space for recreation or whatever the community needs as a whole. So I would support the funding to keep the facility in workable order, so to speak. But hopefully the EDC should understand that perhaps the parking is not needed and we could use it in the community.
All right, thank you. And Alec made this very clear in the title of our resolution, but completely agree.
And again, I think there's just too many open questions that EDC hasn't answered. One of them is about construction noise with the school units right next door. They could not promise that the construction would be off of school hours. If it's during school hours, we have to think about that. I also think there's a bigger picture here, at least from my standpoint. Why do we need infrastructure blocking our view of the waterfront? You know, I think it says in the resolution, we want water accessibility, waterfront accessibility. You can't have that. For those of you who have been over there, it blocks your view and you can't walk to the water. So I just don't see why we need to do this. I'm no on this.
Great, thank you. Larry?
Maybe that this is analogous situation to what the city is up against at the 79th Street boat basin involving the same agency, where everything has been neglected for so long. And the amount of money that's being expended here is a tiny amount compared to what neglect brought about there.
Jim has his hand up.
Jim, go for it.
You know, I voted for this general resolution in committee, but I'm afraid I have to change my vote in view of the comments about the three prior resolutions on this identical matter. I've been on this board for 25 years. EDC tends very much in the past to have jerked us around any number of times. And I think perhaps this time it would behoove us to put some pressure on them in terms of our negotiation, in terms of being able to negotiate something for the community. If they want the money, have them come out with a plan to repurpose the garage and give us a timeline for doing that. And I would suggest that if this thing is as dangerous as they say it is, tell the people who are parking there that they have 90 days to find a new spot, and then do the construction, do it more rapidly, because it, you know, when you're doing these interior demos and compliance with the new local law, it's much easier and much more rapid if there is no parking in the space. Then we can take it from there. But I just think they tend to jerk us around. They tell us that, oh, it's urgent to do this. They won't supply the numbers that we've asked for. I'm a no. Unfortunately, I regret saying that, but particularly since I voted for it in committee. But I didn't really focus on the fact that there had been 3 prior resolutions on the same issue. And as I say, EDC does not have the best record dealing with us.
Thank you. And just for everybody's reference, the past resolutions that the board had passed on this issue, one of them was kind of identical to what we're doing here, saying we're only in support of just the bare minimum repair funding needed, but we do not like there's a parking garage here. So there's kind of a track record there. And I'll just remind everybody, if we reject this resolution, basically we're not on record making any statements, because we're not putting a resolution in objection. The only resolution we had was asking them to use funds for community center services and support. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to actually echo that to provide some strategic context for this type of resolution. We don't have any pressure, as Jim was mentioning, to put this one way or the other. You know, not only based on the work that it is, but also just based on what a community board's hows actually are. We are advisory, so this is going to happen regardless of how we commented on it or not. My understanding from this committee and the very work that they did and the very resolution that they wrote is that this allows us to have on the record in a way that we would not have otherwise what we want to go forward. So all of these ideas that are being shared, this is the first step of many steps that we can then build on, but there won't be anything to build on if it sinks into the river. So I would just urge people to think strategically about it and vote your conscience.
Yeah, and I'll extend an invite to everybody to attend the committee meeting. I mean, committee members did a great job giving EDC really hard time on this, but the more folks show up and say, we really don't like this, I think the more they'll take it, not just Alec, Gabe, Majid saying the same things.
One thing, I remember the meeting, not the entire amount of money was not just for the parking garage, there are other improvements at the airplane.
Yeah.
Seaplane dock.
What's the totality of the renovations?
That's actually a great point, sorry, and it's that part of it is also repairing a segment that is adjacent to the greenway. So that, even that where folks bike, walk, wait, that is also in danger of falling in the water. That's our waterfront. They just lumped it all together.
And sorry, Jim has his hand up still, or is, do you have an additional question, Jim?
No, it's just a rebuttal. If this thing was going to fall into the river, they should condemn it and do the work and get it back to reasonable repair. I think that the danger of it falling into the river is probably minimal, and it's just being used to pressure us. I would, as I say, if it's not found structurally, then they should condemn it and tear it down, or go about doing the rehab. But if you're parking a car there, it's certainly not safe if it's, you know, there's risk of going into the river. You can't occupy a building that's in danger of going into the river. Put some pressure on them. We really need to put it to them. I apologize, that's the dog barking. My wife just came home. All right, sorry.
Comment?
Yeah, I agree with the negative things that have been said about EDC. I don't really understand why they want to add more capacity for another, to allow for another seaplane if they're not increasing the operation. But on the other hand, it's so much more expensive to rebuild it than it is to rehabilitate it. And I think that's really relevant. And as I said, take what you can get and keep the pressure on. And keep working on it, because if we do want that space.
I think Eric will be our last comment, if you don't mind, and then we'll move on and we'll vote.
I mean, I just put out the quick point. Once this is rehabilitated, we're never getting another chance to talk about this, because then it's an operating functional space that is serving a parking need. And all parking that sits under the FDR Drive, once this is rehabilitated, the conversation is over. And they may do it anyway, but hey, I mean, once this is rehabilitated, we're never coming back to them.
Okay.
I'd like to move the agenda here. I think vote your conscience, and we'll, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
And as you're voting, I'll invite you all to attend next month, where we invited EDC to come talk to us again. I mean, we're gonna have EDC every month at this point. We wanna talk about the water club, we wanna talk about the garage, the parking, the NYU parking. There's so much we're asking of them. We're trying to like continue a working relationship with them. So everybody's very welcome to attend all of the land use committee meetings, especially next month.
Okay.
With that, moving to our next and last resolution for land use, and that is regarding Spark. You've all heard about this. You're very familiar with the Science Park and Research Campus, the Gibbs Bay project. What we are asking with this resolution, kind of reaffirming and adding to our requests for community assets, two new points we're mentioning here. The first being calling on adding pre-K and 3K seats. That's something that's been brought up repeatedly. Part of this facility is educational, so we're asking them to carve out the space. We're adding zoning down to creating space from thin air. So might as well add a little bit more and add community facilities in there. But the first, therefore, that you'll see, which is, we believe is the most critical, is asking them to prioritize flexible design framework that allows for the possibility of conversion of laboratory spaces to residential housing in the future. In other words, we are asking them to divvy up, lay out the development in a way that allows future conversion should their projections for lab space not materialize. If we get millions of lab space, private development that brings generates revenue for the city, that's great. But should that not play out as the current administration is hoping, we are asking them to leave the door open for some conversions to housing. Any thoughts or questions? Larry?
Earlier in the meeting, we had a member of the public, Mr. McLeod, mentioned the crosswalk over across 25th Street into Esser Levy area. That's a very serious concern. We've discussed it both in land use and also in transportation in the context of how would you redesign the bridge. And so I'd like to mention right now that treatment of that intersection is something that we're going to keep an eye on and apply pressure to the EDC to come up with a resolution.
Any other questions on this particular resolution? If there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot.
Waiving a report, just again, inviting everybody to attend next month's community board, land use committee meeting. We'll be talking about water club and other exciting things. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have business affairs and licensing. Anton Malner, Chair.
Thank you. Following up on Sandy's comment about moving along, I would like to suggest we bundle 3A through 3E. These were non-controversial requests by the various restaurants to either have a sidewalk cafe or road cafe and or both. And we spoke to them, they gave very good reasons, the diagrams and spacing fell within the guidelines of what had to be done. And so we approved them, I think unanimously on occasions.
And
Can I see that motion and add FMG? But I think we're also pretty routine, okay.
okay, we're going to bundle A through E. Everybody, oh, Jason.
I support the bundle, but I have commentary on the bundle, once they've been bundled.
Oh, okay. All right, please comment.
So I'm a little bit confused with an inconsistency on the position of the committee as it relates to these applications. So last month at our full board, we passed a resolution opposing a cannabis dispensary on Second Avenue and 44th Street. And the basis of that opposition was that it was a residential neighborhood and that there was concerns about consumption of cannabis products being used outside of that store. I'm a little bit confused about why we're not similarly concerned with these applications where they all also appear to be in a residential neighborhood, and we will be endorsing consumption of alcohol in front of these businesses in a residential neighborhood.
Jason, are you referring to the Hallmark store? That's 44th and 2nd.
Sorry, yes. I'm referring to the opposition that we had on 44th and 2nd.
Which
And
was, had very little to do with outdoor consumption.
Yeah.
There wasn't outdoor consumption.
A through E talk to sidewalk and the roadway cafes. And have nothing to do with cannabis.
Well, the testimony was discussed, was concerned with odors and people using the product outside of that store. I believe that was
the
part of
Flintstone, the
basis of
Fred Flintstone store?
Correct, yeah.
I think you're missing the point there, Jason.
I'm just
The
calling to
objections
attention that
were
we're
to-
holding a different standard to cannabis businesses, that we were concerned with them being in residential neighborhoods, and we're concerned with consumption in front of those businesses. And we're not concerned with that similarly for establishments serving alcohol.
Is there secondhand alcohol contamination? Secondhand smoke is different. The sharing of bottles?
Let's keep, Anton, if you'd like to respond.
One is, these are all legal requests that comply with the laws. And as I said, the committee was in favor of these. These are longtime businesses in the neighborhood. They are part of the neighborhood ambiance. As opposed to what we discussed, some of the cannabis requests a little bit later.
Okay. Ian, you wanted to make comments on those?
Yes, Ed, under the State Liquor Authority law, if you change the menu of your restaurant and you have a liquor license, you have to come back and request that the community board be in accordance with that change. And basically, this is what Seven Sins is doing. We have no issue with that. We've got community comments supporting it, and we felt that given that this is a long-time member of the community, we approve that. On the G resolution of no objection on Wagamama, we did have one small issue regarding it seemed to have an illegal sidewalk cafe in operation. However, that has been remedied. And Wagamama is a large corporation, and this different location is on a commercial street, not even near any residences. So we had no issue with that, and we approved it. So we want to keep bundling, we keep on going through G.
Hey, we're bundling all those. Let's go on to H.
Okay.
Oh, please, yeah, mark your ballots.
So the bundle is A through G?
A through G.
Okay, in terms of H, resolution of objection to a new license to operate a cannabis retail dispensary for Hamburg on the Swedge Green Nexus Dispensary Corporation. Incorporated doing business as First Love Dispensary, 271 First Avenue. The principals, representatives did not show. And quite frankly, as we have done in the past in terms of liquor license approvals or not, if you don't show, that means you don't have very much interest in speaking to the community. To us, that's a indication that you may not be a good community partner. So we have indicated we do have an objection to the license, first thing. The second thing is we noted on the Office of Cannabis Management's distance regulations that they have also applied for a cannabis retail dispensary 594 feet away in the community board freeze area. And quite frankly, it seems to be a little disingenuous to be coming to both community boards with such a short distance. So we felt that this was not in keeping with community, what should I say, that they are not being community friendly. So we decided that as a committee to reject their application and object to it. And we feel that our committee, our board should also support that rejection.
Okay, if, is there any questions?
Mark has the temporary.
Mark?
Yeah, hi. I just want to thank the committee for objecting to this. I live across the street. We just had one cannabis store shut down, block and a half north, I think, which was a disaster for our community. And we've got too many of these right there in that strip. We have a lot of crime. 14th Street and First is a nightmare, as everyone knows. It was cleaned up, but it's still really bad. And I just, as a resident right there, I think that we need to object to this and kind of, there's just too many in the neighborhood.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballots. And IJ?
Let's see. Aye. The principals didn't show at our meeting. However, we found since then that they withdrawn their application. And we have a choice here that they could resend an application and to our committee, or completely withdraw it and it goes into Never Never Land. I understand from Jesus, we have to have an acclamation here to withdraw this particular I from the agenda.
Yes, if that's how you want to dispose of this, since it's been withdrawn, it probably doesn't make much sense to move forward with it. So either you can send it back to the committee and they can just hold on to it if and when a new one comes in, or that's probably the cleanest way to do it. And if you just by acclamation say, fine, send it back to the committee, we can be done with it.
Aye.
Okay, goes back to committee. Thank you.
As far as your
Yeah.
ballots are concerned, just put whatever you want in there. We'll strip it out later.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so please mark your digital ballot. We're on to J.
Okay, resolution imposing proposed regulations that would weaken the 1,000-foot distance requirements for cannabis retail dispensaries. This really is something that our committee opposes. The fact that the Office of Cannabis Management can't even give us good direction on distances from schools and public places of accommodation, and to consider having cannabis shops within 1,000 feet of each other, which is approximately 4 city blocks, and take it down to something like 500, which is 2 city blocks. I think it's a little much, and I completely agree with that. Reshma Patel wrote up a wonderful resolution, which we presented to the Budget and Government Affairs Committee, outlining the objections that we have as a committee. And I would request that the board as a whole support our committee in rejecting or opposing the Office of Cannabis Management changing distance regulations in respect to the distance between legal cannabis dispensaries.
Rupal.
I want to know, what is the difference? Like, you can walk into a bodega and buy a cigarette, and there's bodegas right next to each other. People can smoke outside. So why is this 1,000 feet or loosening of the 1,000 feet such an issue when cigarettes you can buy anywhere and there's no restrictions on that? It's also smoking, it's also secondhand smoke. It doesn't make any sense. Like, this is double standards, like Jason was saying, as to what's the point? Like, why do we have double standards when it comes to cannabis? Which, by the way, is a legal product at this point. It is not illegal anymore. That's, at the end of the day, they're both legal products. So why is there separate, why are there two double standards?
I understand what you're saying, and I also understand we do the liquor licensing, and there are restaurants and bars literally next to each other that have liquor licenses. Although the state liquor authority rules say that you can't have sell liquor within 500 feet of another establishment that has liquor, and they have a mechanism in which the applicant can request to have a liquor license that's within the 500-foot exclusion rule. In terms of cannabis, yes, it is a legal product. I am a little concerned that we would have, let's say, a cannabis store within 100 feet or 200 feet or 300 feet of each other. And this, I think, is a little much, and maybe it might be a double standard, but the fact is that we would like to see that the Office of Cannabis Management has regulations and continues to have regulations until unless they we see and test them and have a couple of years under our belt in terms of regulation of marijuana and the elimination of the illegal shops. In many areas of this city right now, we have cannabis within blocks, 1 or 2 blocks of each other, and most of them are illegal. That doesn't make any sense to me either.
So with that point, if you're not gonna reduce the time, the space restrictions from 1,000 feet to 500 feet, these illegal shops aren't going anywhere. So if you wanna get rid of those illegal shops, let the legal ones open up as they want. Like, let that 1,000 feet go down to 500 feet like it is for liquor shops. Instead of fighting it, let that be the same as alcohol, and then otherwise the illegal shops are gonna keep popping up.
Let's move on. Who's next? We'll work our way up the room. It's like Anton Kentz. So Kyle and then Jim.
Yeah, so I agree with Rupal. I think the best comment against illegal shops are legal ones. The caveat that I will mention is that, first of all, with tobacco, you actually can smoke everywhere in the city. There are a lot of restrictions on that. The biggest difference that I would say is that the SLA is a much stronger organization than OCM is right now. So I think a lot of that enforcement is falling onto the local community. And I think the dream is to one day get to a point where that entity is strong enough that we can, have trust in a lower amount of time. But I think right now we kind of have to deal with what's in front of us. So I am in support of this right now. And I hope that we get to a point that it can be much more manageable and foster closer competition.
And we'll go to Jerry next, and then to Jason, and then Justin. We're on the J's.
I was really happy to support what Jason and Rupal said. What you're saying, many of us grew up with the black market. What this has done is actually add safety. And we're already there where we're perhaps 90% of legal shops have been closed over the last 12 months. So I really love that we took leadership and didn't differentiate between liquor, between cigarettes, which in fact, many of us believe it's safer and medicinal, and support the legal shops that are in existence.
Jason and then Justin.
So I want to echo the sentiment that the best, my view is that the best way to fight the illegal shops is for us to have a thriving market of legal, regulated, and taxed cannabis distribution. I think what we're seeing now with all of the illegal shops is showing demand for the purchase of cannabis products. And so that's why those shops are able to exist and why they have set up, is because people want to have convenient access to purchase cannabis products, which would also indicate that having a legal market and legal stores in their place, those legal stores would likely thrive. So if our concern is the illegal shops, we're shooting ourselves in the foot by opposing allowing for more legal shops by trying to we're solving this in the wrong way. So the other point I want to make, which Jerry made, was that no other regulated products are subject to such an onerous 1,000 feet distance requirement, and I see no reason why 1,000 feet should be maintained for cannabis products. And I also don't understand any basis for how they reach this 1,000 number. It sounds completely arbitrary, and as discussed, it seems like there's demand for shops to be. There's clearly demand for shops to be located more within closer radius of one another. And then lastly, I wanted to address, which hasn't been brought up, is that we have a prolific amount of vacant storefronts in our community, in the city as a whole, in the country as a whole. And there are very limited use cases these days for physical retail stores. This is a product that today can only be sold in retail. These are also, by law, small businesses. So if we want to continue to see empty
No, they're
storefronts.
not, unfortunately, just.
Actually.
But let's keep moving, let's keep moving.
Just to answer one question, yes, there is a proliferation of illegal shops, mainly because they're so much easier to set up than going through the Office of Cannabis Management, and that's the issue. Not that there are illegal shops, but that the Office of Cannabis Management doesn't have its act together so that it can approve more legal shops.
But if we have legal shops, and hopefully people will choose to use their money as their vote, and they will prefer to go to the regulated shops and over the unregulated, unclear what products that they're purchasing. But anyway, the point I want to make is that that we have a lot of vacant storefronts in our community. If we want to continue to see those storefronts be vacant, we should go ahead and continue to oppose regulations of shops that the community has demanded, has demonstrated demand for products that they want to purchase in our neighborhoods. Thank you.
So Justin and then Reshma. Right, we have one here.
What I was gonna say is that I don't personally feel that strongly either way, but cannabis is a very lucrative business. I think the fact that there are so many illegal shops is evidence of that. And I worry about unintended consequences. I'm concerned that right now it's kind of a bottleneck where all these cannabis shops can't come in because of the 1,000-foot regulation. One of the things we saw with the Flintstone situation was that the tenant was able to raise prices significantly and get it because of how lucrative it is. And again, I'm worried about unintended consequences that it would overtake retail in our community. And that without a strong OCM, there's no way to kind of stop that overtake.
And Reshma, please. Oh, you're muted, Reshma.
I wanted to, okay, sorry about that. I agree with those who are saying, how is this different than nicotine or alcohol? But the issue is, my personal issue here is the way OCM has been rolled out and the lack of community input, and the people who are applying for licenses are also we have two applicants that were presented tonight, both of whom decided not to show up for the BALC meeting. right? And when Mike Flynn came to the meeting, I think it was in October, he was completely disrespectful and presented incorrect information and then didn't show up in the following meeting. And he has a cannabis business upstate, but also has applied for licenses in other community boards throughout this city and has shown the same amount of this attitude that, oh yeah, I can just get this license. I don't need the community's input. And what we saw in that October meeting.
We'll be talking about that in the next part of my report.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted people to know that because I think a lot of people are seeing this as, oh, we're anti-cannabis. And I wanted to be, the way this is all being rolled out and the people who are applying for the licenses aren't behaving in the way that people who come apply for liquor licenses.
Just want to make one comment, and I'll be talking more in my report, but we are supportive of local businesses. We want to see more business coming in, but we don't want to see the cannabis shop taking over business that's been there 25 or 35 years. This is not doing anything for the vacancy rate in the community.
And I think Michael Ann, and then we'll move on to vote. Go ahead, Michael Ann.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. I mean, we spoke about this in length at our last business meeting. Reshma, I agree. We have to just look at how much one community can endure. And again, we know that OCM has been letting these licenses go left, right, and center with no mind to what community is saying. It's not, yes, we want new businesses in our community, but this is like, it's a knee-jerk reaction to, oh, let's hurry up and open up a new business, as opposed to really listening to community and also looking at the landscape of how much we can endure in one community. So I wish we would all kind of consider that a little bit more. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballot. And Anton has a report.
Okay, I'm trying to make it quick. Tomorrow, the Office of Cannabis Management is having a meeting here in New York City. Sandy, Jesus, and myself will be attending that meeting. We don't believe that the situation Flintstone will be brought up. However, we will make our remarks regarding the behavior of this particular individual, not only in our own community, but he has applied for licenses in other communities and has shown the same disingenuous disrespect for the members of the community boards there. As I said before, BALC does support strongly new businesses in the district. We have a lot of empty storefronts that is very evident. But to have a business come in like Flintstone and take over a community business that's been there for 30 years and the nature of the whole community would change because of this change, we find very disrespectful of the community's review and the residents living there. We're very disappointed, and I've said this before, at least the last 2 years, that the Office of Cannabis Management has not really listened to the community, has gone about doing things the way it wants to do, and the previous resolution, I think, is a reflection of the way the Office of Cannabis Management operates. We will make our intentions known tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll make a little bit of change in the way the OCM operates.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Jason Fromowitz from Transportation.
Good evening. A number of resolutions tonight. First one, we have a request for DOT to implement and maintain temporary bike lane protection during road milling. For a little bit of background, usually DOT comes by, they rip up the roads, take off all the stripping, bike lane disappears. Sometimes they put down some spray paint on the bike lanes to indicate that there's still there. That's easy to ignore. We're asking for DOT to put up some sort of barriers to make sure that the bike lane is maintained to
while the construction's going on for the roadway.
Okay, seeing no questions, if there's no objection, we'll now vote on the resolution. Please mark your digital ballots. Oh, I'm sorry. Marty Barrett has a question. Please, go ahead, Marty.
Can you explain how these barriers would work? Would it interrupt in the milling process? Or do they, the companies that are doing the milling then will have to put up barriers before they repave? That will add additional costs to the whole process. It's a little bit confusing.
Sorry, yeah, I think I see where the confusion is. So there's a fairly extended period where the road is milled and then there's a delay until the road is repaved. Generally, DOT takes that time to allegedly allow for other road work to happen in order to prevent the newly paved roads to not be immediately ripped up. In practice, I question how effective that is. But regardless, we're asking for the temporary protection to be installed in that period when the road is milled, but before the new paving is installed. So I wouldn't expect that to impact the construction. We didn't specify exactly what type of protective measures are in place. So the cost would sort of, I'd say, depend on how DOT wanted to go about implementing it. But yeah, we can go into specific how the protection would be set up.
Anne, sorry, we've called the question's been
Well,
called.
we're just talking about like Jersey barriers or something like.
Okay, we didn't say exactly what, we just said temporary measures, but that would be within the spirit.
Something that is like super easy to put up and down, and because it's like a month between when they mill and when they pave.
Okay, moving on.
Now we have a request for a safety assessment of traffic signals and daylighting at MUC and East 16th Street at the entrance to Stuyvesant Town. If you're not familiar with that intersection, it's a rather confusing intersection. There's a service road and a 2-lane main road that both lead into Stuyvesant Town. There's a flashing red signal that's rather confusing and unusual for drivers. And we're basically asking DOT not to, you don't have a specific recommendation for how DOT makes this intersection more safe. We're just asking DOT to come and take a look at this intersection and make safety improvements as they see fit.
Okay, seeing no questions, if there's no objection, we'll vote on the resolution. Please mark your ballot.
Right, and then last in resolutions, we have no objection to proposed changes for parking regulations on the north side of East 14th Street for the benefit of FDNY Engine Company 5 and the U.S. Postal Service. The background here, the FDNY Engine Company 5 came to our committee. They proposed that they initially applied to our committee to discuss this and came to present at our committee. They previously had parking allocated to them for authorized fire department use on 14th Street across from the firehouse. When the busway was installed, that parking was relocated to 15th Street, and they were asking for it to be put back to where it was on 14th Street. Today, there is meter parking in that space. They're asking for that to be repurposed to FDNY parking. Basically, yeah, they're relocating existing parking that they have from 15th Street back to closer to the firehouse to 14th Street.
Seeing no questions, we'll go ahead and vote. Please mark your ballot.
Then a quick report, congestion pricing started on Sunday. So there is now in effect a $9 toll for cars exiting the zone entering the zone only from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and $2.25 for cars entering the zone overnight after 9 p.m. Several members of the board were on hand to inspect the start of the program at midnight on Sunday on 60th and Lex, and everything seems to be in order. We at the committee are looking forward to looking at the data once it becomes available and to see monitoring the effectiveness and make further recommendations.
Owning a car, living in the zone. I did a little research and found that other cities that have congestion pricing give a price break to those people living in the zone. On occasions during the week, I have to take my car to transportation deserts in Queens and Brooklyn. And when I come back home, I gotta pay $9 to go home. So I find it a little bit disconcerting that I'm being charged for commuters who are coming in from other parts of Jersey or Westchester, whatever. Could you consider a resolution to the state, because they are in charge of the congestion pricing, to give a break to those people who actually live in the congestion zone and own cars?
Well, the reason that we have, well, one of the reasons, I would guess that the reason that we don't have a similar discount in place, because that wasn't part of making the law, is that the implementation of requires a certain amount of money to be raised. And when the decisions were made in how they set up the tolling program, they had to be mindful of raising enough money to, I forgot how much it was, $12 billion to fund the, I think. Thank you, $15 billion, a couple billion short of a big deal. So there was a requirement to raise $15 billion to fund the MTA. If discounts were applied to residents, then that means somebody else would have had to pay more money. So there was a lot of complication in terms of.
And just, so we don't debate congestion pricing, it's an effect, we're gonna see the results, we're gonna take a look at it, I'm sure. Did notice less traffic.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's the cold. Do we have something you want, this?
Sandy?
I suggest you go to the meeting, transportation meeting.
I just wanted to ask that when we get the data dump, that we get a division between private cars.
Oh, please.
And the rideshare cars.
We'll get lots of data. I'm sure there'll be a very robust discussion of this in the future, but let's save it for the committee.
If Trump doesn't stop it.
Well, yes, if we still have congestion pricing after January 20th. So any other, I'm not gonna even ask for any other comments. Let's move forward. Thank you. We have Parks, Landmarks and Cultural Affairs, Neil Barkley, Chair.
So I'm gonna wait for the important. I'm gonna wait my report, Sarah Whittington, our vice chair, fantastic, she takes the minutes at every meeting, so she had to be the vice chair. She keeps taking minutes to be the chair next month.
I'll stop the minutes now.
And she's going to present the resolution in support of the grant for Japan Society, but she can explain that. Thank you, Sarah.
You are welcome, and thank you for listening. My pleasure to represent this resolution to support the Japanese Society's application for a grant of $79,500 from the New York State Council on the Arts to upgrade their theater. The upgrades include a Christie 4K laser projector, an advanced LCD projector, a new Shire microphone system with a soundboard. This would improve greatly the presentations that they made from the last time they had upgrades was over 10 years ago. I want you to know where the Japan Society is. Maybe many of you are members there, but it's at 333 East 47th Street, and it's the Japanese Arts and Cultural Organization with longstanding history in our community board district. Its facility is the cultural hub for just a diverse array of live theater, music, dance, and film throughout the year. The theater is particularly renowned for its Japanese cinema enthusiasts and screenings that span from the silent era to contemporary years. The theater has a storied history as well. It has hosted many U.S. presidents, Japanese prime ministers, Nobel Prize winners, and distinguished guests from the academic, cultural, and business worlds. The Society's application is to the New York State Council on the Arts, which is an agency funded by New York State, which finds arts and cultural projects throughout the state to support. CD6's supporting this project would accentuate and increase the arts and cultural access for our community to both the residential and commercial neighborhoods, as well as visitors and tourist groups.
some of the accent programs which the Japanese Society participates in are free First Fridays and numerous free events throughout the year. These will benefit and enrich our community as well as yield economic, social, and civic benefits for the residents and visitors. So in short, our support of the upgrades to this theater are essential and timely for the continuation of the society's tradition of excellence and for the theater's capabilities, specifically due to the rapid growing technological advancements in technology. So we would hope you would support this endeavor.
Are there any questions? No, okay, great. Let's vote on this, mark your ballot, and you may now submit your ballot. Those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Youth and Education, John DeRico is, as I mentioned, has left the board. He's been a great addition, and Kevin O'Keefe is taking over as interim chair, but I believe there won't be any meeting this month. Is that correct?
Sorry, January 28th.
Oh, there is a meeting, January 28th. Okay. Public Safety and Sanitation, Stu Desser, chair. Excellent. Budget and Government Affairs, Nag Kalani.
Yeah, I'll waive my report as well. I know it's late.
Health and Environment, LV Barroso. That meeting's tomorrow. Okay. Old or new business. If you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand.
I
Tanya?
just want to make a fast comment that CB4 came out in the New York Post opposing the casino at Hudson Yards. Did our opinion on the one on First Avenue ever get publicized? Was it ever?
I don't know that it made it to the Times. Did it make it to the Times?
It was in the Times that
It was
several
in the
times that
Times?
we opposed it, yeah.
That we opposed it? Okay, great. Thank you.
It's apparently this summer is going to be the discussion of the people are submitting their bids this summer. That's the scuttlebutt. Anything else? Okay, Justin will conduct the second roll call.
We are still missing quite a few ballots, so please submit them.
Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you're unable to use your digital ballot, CB6 staff will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. First, Majed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Tanya Arias.
Present?
Kyle Attide.
Present.
Neil Barclay.
Present.
Marty Garrett.
Present.
LV Barroso. Jim Collins.
Here.
Jonathan DeRico.
Not here.
Stuart Desser. Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Maya Donahue. Robert Fairfam.
Present.
Rod Friedman.
Present.
Jason Bromowitz.
Jason, we need your ballot. Okay.
Eric Goldberg. Justin Goldberg, present. Gloria Hage. Rabia Iqbal.
Present.
Paige Judge.
Present.
Paige, we need your ballot.
I'm doing it now.
Rubal. Rubal Kakad. Sean Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kulani.
Ned is here. I do see him.
Sorry, here.
Thank you. Katie Landa. Sandra Lazoff.
Absent.
David Levy.
Present.
David Lowenstein.
Present.
Anton Malner.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Richard Mitz. Kevin O'Keefe. Reshma Patel.
Present.
Reshma's here.
Stephen Perez. Marion Ralph. Mike Monroe.
Here, present.
Larry Shire. Ann Seligman. Senator Sherrod, Lydia Stradnik, Mubin Siddiqui,
Absent.
Letty Simon,
Letty's here.
Susan Steinberg,
Hello,
Mark
do you want
Halston.
my ballot?
Yes.
In-
Hold on.
I know. In favor on everything. Good night. It's a good night.
Okay, in favor on everything?
Yes. Wow. I know, it usually
Okay.
doesn't happen, but I'm in total agreement this evening. Thank you.
All right. How very accommodating.
I try.
Mark Thompson,
Present. Wait a minute. The internet is reacting slowly, and so it's taking forever to load. We'll do it later.
I can work on Letty's ballot.
Thank you.
Gay Russo, James Zero, Jerry Weinstein, Sarah Whittington.
Now, hold on a moment. I do need to work on Letty's ballot.
Okay.
I'll let you know once I'm done.
All right, we'll do one more check to make sure everyone's ballot is submitted. Paige said she was working on hers, so Paige,
Okay, I'm
whenever
just
you're
putting
ready.
my name in. 1 second.
Wonderful, wonderful. And once we have Letty's and once we have Paige's, then we will have all the ballots. Sit tight for the calling of the votes. It'll build anticipation.
One second. Darn.
I'm coming along.
Okay.
Almost done.
One second. Oh, darn.
Okay, I have submitted on behalf of Letty.
And I see it. Thank you.
Hey, 1
Yeah.
second. Did I miss something? I don't even see what I missed. Transportation. Has to be the beginning. I said, sorry. Okay. Okay. It should have gone through. Oh, come on.
No, not yet. Oh, there it is. All right.
Sorry, thank you for your
You're
patience.
welcome. No problem. Okay. I will call the resolution 1A, which is about shelter stay restrictions, passes with 37 in favor, 5 opposed, 2 abstentions, and no not entitled. Resolution 2A on the Skyport Marina passes 35 in favor, 7 opposed, 2 abstentions, no not entitled. Resolution 2B, which is on our second resolution on Spark, passes with 43 in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention, no not entitled. Bulk had a bundle, A through G. A passed unanimously with 44 votes. B passed unanimously with 44 votes. C passed unanimously with 44 votes. D passed with 43 votes in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions, no not entitled. E passed 43 in favor, 1 opposed, no not entitled, no abstentions. F passed unanimously with 44 votes. And the final of bundle G passed unanimously with 44 votes. On to bulk 3H, which is the reso for that cannabis operator that no-showed. it was a resolution of objection that passed, 41 in favor, 3 opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. Resolution 3I was withdrawn and sent back to committee. So we move on. 3J is the one on 1,000 foot distance requirements. It passes 31 in favor, 12 opposed, 1 abstention, no not entitled. Now we move on to the transportation resos. Transportation 4A on bike lane protections is 43 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstention, and 0 not entitled. Transportation 4B on East 16th Street and Avenue C passed unanimously, 44 in favor. Transportation 4C on the FDNY Engine Company on 14th Street passed with 42 in favor, 2 opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. And last but not least, the Parks Reso on the Japan Society funding request passed 43 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, 1 not entitled. That's all, folks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you all later. Bye.
Wait, do we need to officially adjourn the meeting?
Sorry, the meeting is officially adjourned at 9:25. Thank you.
You don't say that was, you know.
Very
Thank you all. Have a good night.